Hi everyone and welcome! In this video I will react to and analyze me playing Blessings Upon the Throne of Tyranny from Dimmu Borgir. This is a drum cover that I did some time ago, and because it took me a lot of effort to get this down and to learn this cover, and I really put a lot of thought into every detail, so I think it will be quite interesting, especially for you drummers out there, to hear a little bit more about all the details. So let's get right into it. Okay, right in the start, the very first fill is already quite challenging for me because I'm not the best when it comes to playing just simple single strokes. The tempo is here, I think, 232 BPM. So playing the single stroke fill in the beginning and also hitting the cymbals in between, that is quite challenging for me to do at this kind of tempo. Also, after the single stroke fill in, I have to transition directly into blast beats without any gap in between. And yeah, I play the blast beats with push-pull, so I have to transition from the third tom to snare and hi-hat, and also I have to transition from like wrist and finger motion to push-pull in an instant. And yeah, this was, it took some time until I got it down. Yeah, so let's go on. Yeah, this fill-in was a double stroke fill-in where I'm kind of back into what I'm used to. And also you can notice here's a little difference between me playing the song and the original drummer, Nicholas Barker, playing the song, because I'm playing this part with single foot blast beats, which he did not. But it's a minor detail, and I basically, well, there's not really a reason why I'm doing this with one foot, it's just because I can, basically. So yeah, let's go on. Okay, in the part you just watched, there are a number of things that are kind of tricky. First of all, we have this very super short tom fill-ins in between while I'm playing blast beats. Let me just show you, 1 second. Yeah, those little fills are really tricky, because I change between playing single stroke push-pull for the blast beats and double stroke push-pull for the little fills, and I really have to make this transition super smooth and just play those 4 double strokes on the tom and then back to single strokes on hi-hat and snare. Also, there are no crash cymbals or anything like coming after these fills, so I have to go directly from the tom back to the hi-hat, and that is kind of tricky. I think on the original track, Nicholas Barker has 2 hi-hats, which makes this a little bit easier, and I'm very sure he's playing on his right hi-hat, from where it's much easier to go to the tom and directly back to the hi-hat. But because I just have 1 hi-hat on my left side, it was a little bit more tricky to do, but well, still possible. Okay, this last fill is also kind of interesting, because this is something that I just kind of discovered quite recently, and that is playing double stroke fills and still putting cymbals in between the tom hits. You can see that in the beginning of this fill, I'm hitting the splash cymbal, and then I'm directly going into the double stroke fill, and what I do there is basically I play the first note with my right hand on the splash, then the second note, I'm in a double stroke roll here, is directly on the tom, so I'm kind of pulling my hand down, and then come the 2 hits with my left hand, left also on the tom. And this is, in the beginning, like a couple of years ago, I thought that this would be impossible, but now I know it is possible, and yeah, so this is exactly what I'm doing here. So again, the fill. Yeah. Okay, here's the next very interesting fill. It starts with a double stroke roll on the snare, and then we have these single stroke rolls on the toms with the cymbals in between. And this was for me very, very challenging to do because because this fill is quite long and I don't have very good stamina yet with my normal wrist motion. So playing this super long fill and also coming out of the double strokes on the snare, that was quite challenging for me. And I think this was kind of the one fill that really kept me from covering the song earlier, because even a couple of years ago I actually wanted to cover the song, but this was also always the one fill where I knew, okay, I'm still not ready for this. Yeah. Another very fun thing about this fill is that it was not that easy to figure out, because there's a little video clip of Nicolas Barker playing this part of the song. And in this clip, he actually plays this fill slightly differently. And also later in the song, on the CD version, he also plays it slightly differently. So I always had this different version in mind when I was practicing the song. And then when I started putting it all together, I was suddenly realizing, okay, at this fill, I always end up being a couple of beats too late when I'm at the end of the fill. Why is that? And so I listened very closely to the CD version, and then I figured out that only on this one part in the song, he's doing the fill a little bit differently and starting it a little bit later and leaving away some hits in the middle. So yeah, this was kind of funny when I realized that, because later in the song, this fill will come up a couple of times more, but always it is then like a different version. So yeah. Okay, let's go on. And now again this fill. Okay, now in this part I can finally kind of relax for the first time in the song. Okay, here there are some really cool, interesting accents on the hi-hat, and you can see that I play these accents with my left hand. The reason behind that is that on the original track, Nicolas Barker is playing here on his right hi-hat and doing the accents with his left hand on his left hi-hat. So he's using two hi-hats in this beat, as far as I can tell. And yeah, I try to kind of emulate that while still having only one hi-hat, and this is why I'm doing the accents with my left hand on the hi-hat. Yeah, again, this is one of those parts where I can just relax, because it is just one beat that is like just flowing. I don't have to think about any complicated fills, and also the tempo is kind of comfortable for me. So this is kind of the sort of part where I mentally relax and prepare for the next hard thing that is coming up. Okay, again, here you can actually start seeing that this song has a lot of tempo and pattern changes. And I think this is really interesting, and it's also kind of typical for many Dimmu Borgir songs. It really took some time to program the click track to this song, because when you're looking at the tempo, it actually really goes like all over the place. It's like almost different in every part. And yeah. And the funny thing is, many of these tempo changes you don't really recognize that when you are listening to the song, because every part flows very well into the next part. This now here was a very obvious tempo change, but there are some tempo changes that are far less obvious, but they are still there and they also serve a purpose. And yeah, I think that's very interesting from a songwriter perspective to think about that. So let's go on. Here again, there's one fill. What's really interesting in the part you just heard is that when this part comes in the very beginning of the song, Nicholas Barker plays complete like double bass throughout the whole part without any gaps in between. But now when this part comes up second time, he actually does not play double bass all the time, but he's leaving little breaks in between. So although this is the same part, he plays something different. And I think it's really cool that he kind of mixes it up. And yeah, this is really where you realize that a real drummer played this, and there was not just some guy programming the drums and just copy pasting, but he really took the effort and just played the whole song and put in little variations here and there. Also, you can also hear this in other parts of the song, where each time a song comes up, he will play something, at least something slightly different. And I think that's really cool. Now, let me go back a couple of seconds, because now here we have a very tough transition for me. Now this. So this was a really, really tough transition for me because, well, at this point I come out of a very hard fill for me, because this fill starts with double strokes, then goes into single strokes and those cymbals. And then at the very end of the fill, I have to transition directly without gap into blast beats. And not only that, but also the tempo goes up. And this combination made this transition really, really difficult, and I had to practice this a lot until it worked. But let's go on. Okay, in this part that is coming up now, there are very, very interesting little details on the bass drum going on. At first, I was very tempted to just play something, but in the end I thought, okay, this is Nicholas Barker and I want to really do this cover note by note. So I'm actually learning everything by heart, every little detail. And so I also learned those bass drum patterns, and it was not very easy to memorize all of this, but I'm glad I did this. So yeah, some really cool stuff on the bass drum going on here. Okay, now in the next part coming up, we can again hear some really cool hi-hat accents that Nicholas Barker did there, and which I tried to replicate as accurately as possible. And it really took some time to learn all this by heart, because again, each time a part comes up, he plays something slightly different. So I had to really memorize everything by itself, kind of. Yeah, also, again, we have some interesting bass drum patterns, because the bass drum is not doing the same all the time, but it's always changing up things a little bit here and there, and also going along with the high-end accents sometimes. So it's a really interesting part. It looks very easy, but it was not very easy to learn. Let's go on. Again, this is where I can relax. And now a very cool single stroke fill. Again, cool hi-hat accents and little things on the bass drum going on. I gotta say, each time when I come out of the part before this, out of all the little hi-hat accents and stuff, this part here, just playing the simple 6/8 note pattern with double bass underneath, this just feels so kind of almost liberating. It's, okay, all the hard stuff is over, now I can just have fun and just play some double bass. And yeah, this is the feeling right now for me when I'm playing this particular part. Okay, now this part where I'm doing nothing is actually quite challenging mentally, because the thing is, right now I'm thinking, okay, most of the song is over, all the very complicated and hard stuff is over, almost, and now I just have to do the rest of the song. And well, yeah. The thing is, I really like to do my drum covers in one take. So I'm not doing like 10 takes and then piecing everything together, but I record takes until I have kind of the perfect take. So at this very point in the song, where I have kind of a little break, then my thoughts start working. I'm thinking, okay, I made it so far, now I mustn't do any mistake. Now I really have to make the song, this take, perfect until the end. And that's kind of a little mind here, because it doesn't really serve in making me play better when I think about failing. So yeah. Yeah, I always try relaxing and not thinking of anything in this break to not kind of disturb my concentration. You can now see on my face how hard I'm concentrating on not failing, because this is kind of the last part in the song where I kind of frequently do some little mistakes or inaccuracies. So I know when I got this part down, then the rest of the song will be easy for me. So now it's a little bit more relaxed for me. Now I'm like, yeah, I got this. Almost finished. Again, this part with the cool hi-hat accents, which I'm doing with my left hand. Now just the end remaining. Yeah, and that's it. I remember when I was tracking this drum cover, I had one take where up until like the very last hits, I did everything perfect in all the excitement and relief of, yeah, finally I got this down, finally a perfect take, and then I did something wrong on the bass drum. It was like, yeah, it was so frustrating, and I had to do the whole song all over again. But yeah, this happens when you kind of lose concentration before actually finishing the song. So this last part was really kind of the final boss before beating the game. By the way, originally I had planned to actually have my hair open while playing the song, and also like headbanging a little bit more, but it was so hot in my rehearsal room. After like a couple of like 2 or 3 takes, I don't know, I just put my hair back and I was sweating like hell. I was thinking, okay, hell no, I have to... the main thing is that I get the song down and don't worry about the show too much, and yeah. The problem is that my rehearsal room is inside an old World War II bunker, which has very, very thick walls. So usually when it's hot outside, it's still cool inside. But when it's hot over a very long period of time outside, then the heat kind of creeps through the walls, and then the whole bunker gets heated up very, very badly. And then it also won't cool down for a while. And yeah, this was at a time like this, where the whole bunker was really, really hot. And yeah, I actually had a ventilator directly towards me, and still I was sweating like hell. And yeah, so this was kind of physically exhausting to do, but it also was quite fun. So I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown. Thanks for watching. And if you want to see more of this kind of stuff, then just comment down below. Also, you can check out the normal drum cover without me talking all about it, just by clicking the link down below in the description. Also check out my drum courses where you can learn all about blast beats, double bass and different drumming techniques. Just click the link up here or also down below in the description. So, thanks again for watching and see you next time.